looking out onto my eyelashes in an agony of delightful anticipation.
Listen to them, the children of the night. What music they make.
From the D&E studios, welcome to the Dracula podcast. I am your host, Lawrence Burgess, or LB for short. Thank you to my producer, Adam Stover, Rob, and Martha of Southgate Media, and most of all, you for listening. We aim to bring you thoughtful, stimulating media, reviewing the films, books, music, and plays that make Stoker's creation so beloved, the criticism to inform your purchasing decisions, interesting guests, and the needs of our communities. Folks, drop us a line. Send us your questions and comments on Facebook at The Dracula Podcast. There you can find a very nice application to play directly into your browser. You can also find us at facebook.com/Dracula Audio No Spaces, also Dracula Audio No Spaces on Twitter, or at the Dracula inbox at audio.dracula@gmail.com. We will do our best to respond to queries by direct response or on our show. As you've heard from a previous episode, you know that Greg Hunt is someone who understands music very deeply and on an elemental level. So if you have a project and you need that finishing touch, there's only one company, and it's the Foxborough. And they are a proud sponsor of the Dracula podcast. They are in Charleston, West Virginia. They are the industry leader in scoring, multi-track audio recording, mixing, mastering, production, and graphic design. You can find them on Facebook. Click that thing and give it a like. For queries, please send correspondence to 1007 Bigley Avenue, Suite 319, Charleston, West Virginia 25302. Once again, that's the Foxborough, 1007 Bigley Avenue, Suite 319, Charleston, West Virginia 25302. We're so happy to have you here today, folks. A warm welcome to all of you. We really appreciate you for following along on our trips through Penny Dreadful, our media reviews, highs and lows, and to make us the absolute sexiest podcast on the internet. And you know why? Because we have the sexiest fan base. So go ahead and give yourselves some applause. And we hope you took a chance to listen to our previous episodes. If not, check out the Southgate Media homepage at southgatemediagroup.com. That's southgatemediagroup.com. There you can find us everywhere. We're at iTunes, we're at Libsyn, we're at Stitcher, and we're a whole mess of other places around the friendly interwebs. A simple Google search will do it. The 10-episode second season of Penny Dreadful. It is close. Very close. It's on Sunday, May 3rd. That's 2 days before Cinco de Mayo at 10 p.m. on Showtime. And that is the second season, premiering at May 3rd, 10 p.m. Showtime. We've been cracking it on our last few episodes, and we're getting you ready for the second season, touching on each one chronologically. Spoilers ahead. We've got one more to go, and we're going to hit it this episode. I'm not going to pitch you again on the Blu-ray. You know better. You know about its value, and you know that's the best way to spend your money. And after our Penny Dreadful review, we are going to go over theories. Where we expect the project to go. It might be a little spoilery, but we've inferred a lot from what we've seen on video and the words of John Logan himself. We have a lot to get through on this episode. We've got 2 more films from the Hammer Horror Dracula series. And John Johnson is back, and he's going to finish those off with me this week. Just before we start, a little bit of cleanup for the last episode. The composer for the Dracula series was James Bernard, not Bernard Herrmann. James Bernard not only was the master of Hammer horror music, but also did a revitalization of the silent Nosferatu by F.W. Murnau. Let's get right down to it. You ready over there? Yes, sir, I am ready. It is news from around the globe. And our major spotlight of the week is the World Horror Convention. It takes place May the 7th through the 10th this year in Atlanta. The website is www.whc2015.org. Folks, it's the 25th anniversary of the convention. The centerpiece for the convention is the Horror Writers Association announcing the Bram Stoker Awards. The convention will take place at the Atlanta Marriott Marquis Hotel, and the Bram Stoker Award ceremony is on Saturday evening, May the 9th. Guests including Lisa Tuttle, Christopher Golden, John Ferris, Cami Garcia, and a presentation by Dacre Stoker. Toastmaster will be Jonathan Mayberry. The World Horror Convention is special to us for a number of reasons. not just because of the genre of the podcast, but there's an extremely gifted and a wonderful friend to the show named Michael Noss, who is up for a Bram Stoker Award for his first novel, Return of the Mothman. I've read it, and I'm not telling you this just because he's a friend. Return of the Mothman is a wonderful book. Please go out and pick that up. You can pick it up on Amazon. Just click Michael Noss. It's a simple Google search away, and you can grab that book. It's a very easy read. The story is full of depth, so when the Bram Stoker Awards happen, we will be pulling for Michael Noss, and you should too. He's already won one. He's been nominated for others. It doesn't surprise us that he's up for this one this year. All right, folks, here it is. This is our subcast, Casting Dread, the Penny Dreadful Show. The 8th episode and season finale of Penny Dreadful is entitled Grand Guignol. It was written by John Logan and directed by James Hawes. And now it's time for a little story. We open to Vanessa and Sir Malcolm. The images that she saw were from the theater, and she believes Mina wants to be contacted. Dorian arrives asking Vanessa to lunch. She refuses. He tries again for dinner. She refuses and leaves, giving him the cold shoulder. At the Mariner's Inn, Ethan kneels and prays beside a frail, ill Brona. Outside, 2 American men are waiting for Ethan. One says to be patient, to enjoy the hunt. Sir Malcolm purchases an automatic pistol from a shop. As he leaves, he meets Madame Callie, whose real name is Evelyn Poole. Evelyn has read about him in the papers, and he is going on an expedition. She queries if he's seen much of Vanessa, to which he denies. Sir Malcolm hastes to leave, but she assures him that he shall see her again. Caliban has issues with the rigging at the theater. He is shunned by fellow actors, but Vincent passes it off as the others as prima donnas. In the basement, Maud visits him. She gives Caliban an orange and thanks him for the book. They speak of happiness, but he believes that is for others. She says he does not have to hide his face from her. Then as she leaves, she kisses him on the forehead. He is moved beyond words. Vanessa wants to know why Sir Malcolm didn't want her on the ship. He was trying to protect her. She doesn't believe that. Then he reveals to her it's true, he would sacrifice her to save Mina, and might even hope he gets the chance. Later, Caliban puts on makeup and visits Maud, offering her an orange. She is amused, but he cannot contain his feelings. He goes for her, trying to kiss her. She fights him off, and later, Vincent tells Caliban that he must leave. But if he had a choice, he'd fire the actors and keep Caliban himself. Caliban extends a hand, but Vincent embraces him. Caliban leaves. High above the stage, the master sleeps. Vanessa meets Dorian in the gardens. She cannot deny a real connection between them, but she must refuse him. Something inside her was unleashed that must be contained. It is the first time he has ever been rejected. As she walks away, a tear falls from his eye. He looks at it as if it were a foreign substance. Caliban is in Victor's lab, having no other choice, as he has nowhere to go. Victor cannot forgive him what he did to Professor Van Helsing. He doesn't have the stomach even to do what Caliban asks. Caliban agrees. Victor grabs a gun. Caliban tells of the dreams of love. He asks Victor why he wasn't created of stone, and why he was allowed to feel. Caliban tells Victor to pull the trigger, because it would be a blessing. Victor cannot. He puts his hand on Caliban's shoulder. A knock on the door comes, and Victor tells him to stay. Ethan needs Victor. Brona is on her deathbed. It is at the point where Victor can only give her a sedative. He asks Ethan to go down the hall and fetch some water. Victor tells Brona that he believes in a place between life and death, but there is a price to live there. She wants it. She believes. Then Victor smothers her with a pillow. Ethan returns shortly after and weeps. Victor says not to worry, or he'll take care of the body. At the Mariner's Inn, Ethan is drinking. The 2 men following him introduce themselves as Mr. Roper and Mr. Kidd with the Pinkerton Agency. They are charged by Ethan's father to bring him home, forcefully if necessary. Then Ethan attacks them and leaves the bar. That night outside the Grand Guignol, Ethan meets Vanessa, Sir Malcolm, Sembeni, and Victor. Sir Malcolm says that Mina is his responsibility. They enter. They search among the seats, to no avail. They search along the stage. Sir Malcolm and Vanessa go above. They shine a light above near the rafters. The Master, who opens his eyes. Ethan falls below the stage as vampires attack. Ethan fires his pistol as he is swarmed. Sembeni and Victor descend to help. Sir Malcolm fires at the Master from above, but the creature is too quick. Below, Victor is overrun and Sembeni and Victor cannot help. The Master descends above in front of Vanessa. He pauses, ready to kill. Then Sir Malcolm drives a spike into his chest. He falls. The vampires are about to tear Ethan apart when Sir Malcolm descends on the stage and drives the spike deeper into the Master's chest. The Master falls still, and the vampires die on the spot. Someone calls out Vanessa's name. She turns. It is Mina. Vanessa rushes to her and embraces her. They gather round as Mina holds Vanessa. Then her eyes turn red and she holds Vanessa at bay. She tells them that they all have done well. Now that the Master has his bride, they shall sire generations. She goes to bite Mina, but Sir Malcolm fires at her shoulder. On the ground, Mina says that she's Sir Malcolm's daughter as he stands over her, pistol pointed. Sir Malcolm says that he already has a daughter and fires a bullet into Mina. Later at the mansion, Vanessa and Sir Malcolm embrace in terrible tears. In Victor's library, he removes a sheet. Brona's body is still on the table. Caliban is stunned. Victor prepares to operate. In a bar, Ethan is alone, staring outside. Mr. Roper and Mr. Kidd have followed him. They surround Ethan, calling him a monkey. Ethan cannot hold his anger and says that he's not a monkey. Then he turns on them, his eyes and face beast-like, and tears them apart underneath the full moon. Vanessa is outside of a church and she finally walks in. She meets with the priest. She wants to be exorcised. He says it could take weeks or years. He also says that being touched by the devil is like being touched by the backhand of God. Before he continues, he must ask a question. Does Vanessa really want to be normal? And that's it, folks. That is Grand Guignol, the last episode of Season 1 for Penny Dreadful. I thought it was great. I thought that Brona's storyline had expired and they got rid of her. I think the shots are marvelous. Something's off about Mina. The timing of her in the framing of the story, it felt like a strange payoff in a way. But it is understood that they are setting up a larger scenario. Again, Dorian Gray seems like he should have more to do. Sembeni is actually evolving at this point as a character. The direction is amazing, the script is top-notch, and the performance is superior. So there are a lot of theories out there about Season 2. I'll go through a few of those theories right now with you. Brona is actually set up to be the, quote, Bride of Frankenstein, although Bride of Frankenstein isn't the proper term because she should be Caliban's bride. And is Caliban really going to be happy? If Brona indeed is resurrected, how's she going to feel about him? In the 1935 film Bride of Frankenstein, James Whale directed that one, and the bride was less than pleased when she saw Boris Karloff's creature. In the second season, Sembeni needs more to do. Sir Malcolm's not going to go on an expedition. He has his daughter and he has a family. Sembeni should figure into this in some way. And a lot is speculated about Sembeni's real past. When it comes to Victor himself, I thought the performance was outstanding. He has a lot to do. It seems that he finally broke. Even though that Van Helsing was murdered and Proteus was murdered, Victor is someone who needs family. He's a bit of the outsider. He doesn't live in Sir Malcolm's home. He's not romantically drawn to Vanessa, or at least thought to believe that. So he needs family. and the logical responses to Caliban, and that performance by Rory Kinnear as the creature, as Caliban. Absolutely outstanding. When it comes to Ethan, they've been dropping hints about the wolf inside Ethan all season long, and it's finally come to roost. He's a killer. He wakes up, he doesn't know where he is. There are going to be consequences for his actions. But who is his father? And why is he so hell-bent on Ethan returning? We can assume that Ethan killed in America. But what else is there? As for Sir Malcolm, he has a family, but he's lost a lot. What is his function now that Mina is gone? Is his function to be a father? Is his function to try to make up for his past sins through Vanessa? It seems logical. But of course, the real question is Vanessa herself. It's led to believe that the initial possession is over, as of episode 7, but she still has that connection. She was led to the Grand Guignol. So what does that mean? If Vanessa is indeed the devil's bride, why is she hesitating to be exorcised? Does she want this power? Does she want to give up this power? That is an interesting question the priest proposed. As for the theories, Amon-Ra and Amunet are the two centerpieces of the story, with Amon-Ra as the big bad. Amon-Ra has been talked about by the main characters, they've also been referred to by the villains, and the Master Vampire wasn't the master at all. So they all fall under this hierarchy. We understand so far that Amon-Ra and the devil are probably the same. This is a show dealing about the characters of Dracula, and the Count himself is yet to be revealed. Many believe that Amon-Ra, the devil, and Dracula are 3 different entities or 2 different entities. I completely disagree. I believe they are one and the same, and it starts off with the name of Dracula himself, which is translated into Son of the Dragon, or Son of the Devil. And we're talking about Vanessa herself. During one of her visions, she calls the entity inside her Prince of Darkness, which could be referring to the actual devil, and it's also a reference to the nod Dracula Prince of Darkness, thus strengthening the devil-Dracula tie. If you remember Fenton, he talks about Mother, and Fenton is an obvious nod to Renfield. The Master has Egyptian tattoos on his chest, and he is a vampire. And all the evidence presented to you previously shows that these 3 beings are actually one and the same. So let's start about Dracula. Where is he? It's been proposed by some that Dracula is already in the story and he has already been seen. There have been allusions to the devil throughout the series, as early as Vanessa eating an apple. The apple could be representative of Adam and Eve in the biblical story, the tempting of the apple. It also has a reference to bats. Fright Night was a film that equated apples and bats, as bats needing the fruit. Theories. Dracula is actually Ethan's father. John Logan describes Ethan's father as a monstrous man who treated his son brutally. However, this monstrous man is in the United States, and he's not yet appeared. It seems a little bit too convoluted that the werewolves and the vampires would be mixed up together, that Dracula could actually be Ethan's father, so I disagree with this theory entirely. Dorian Gray. There is a picture of him on the internet, holding a snake with fang marks in him. It could be emblemative of Vanessa as the serpent, or it could be something else. Is Dorian Dracula? Is he the devil? It's interesting about the timing of Dorian's arrival and the time that these things all start to happen. He allows Vanessa to come to his home and Sir Malcolm is on the trade ship, and yet they still try to take out Sir Malcolm, so the timing is interesting. Vanessa calls him beautiful, and Lucifer is often described as beautiful, a light bringer. Along with the picture of Dorian Gray holding the snake, it is plausible. I do think that Dorian is somehow involved with Dracula, but he isn't Dracula. He is immortal and unhappy and satisfied. If he was Dracula, why wait? Why not take her in the garden? Why allow her to run away? It doesn't make a lot of sense. There is a thought that Dracula is possibly Sir Malcolm. Sir Malcolm, when appearing to her as a vision, speaks a line from Keats, And interestingly enough, Keats is an anagram for the word steak. That's probably a bit much. Sir Malcolm is rich, he's experienced in travel, and it is from the event when Vanessa found him and her mother in the maze when she became infected. That was when Vanessa's origins were revealed. The vision of Dracula/the devil came to her as Sir Malcolm, and then it manifested a full psychosexual experience and her mother died because of it. A closer relationship with Mina would also have helped to lead Vanessa to Sir Malcolm's confidence, going so far later as to choose Vanessa over Mina, and to give her a home. If Sir Malcolm is Dracula/the devil, why didn't he act until now? Why is he waiting for all these pieces to fall? If his goal is world domination, why invite Victor Frankenstein on board? Why take the time to go after Ethan and hire him in the first place? At best, they're probably threats to him. It's interesting about Sembeni. Could Sembeni be the devil? What happened to Sir Malcolm in Africa? I also dismiss the possibility about Sembeni being Dracula/the devil because it also seems convoluted and a bit of a stretch. There's not a lot to base it on. There's more evidence of Dracula being Sir Malcolm or even Dorian Gray. There is a thought that Dracula is actually the Antichrist, and the devil is someone else. There is an interesting part of literature called the Scholomance, and it's referenced in Bram Stoker's Dracula, in which the devil takes the 10th servant. Dracula is versed in necromancy, which means he can control the dead. But in all this, if you're still not convinced that Dracula, the devil, and Amon-Ra are the same being, I'm going to read a line from Stoker himself.
He is of cunning more than mortal, for his cunning be the growth of ages. He hath still the aids of necromancy, which is, as his etymology imply, the divination by the dead, and all the dead that he can come nigh to are for him at command. He is brute, and more than brute, he is devil in callous, and the heart of him is not.
Thank you, Dr. Van Helsing. Do I think that he's going to show up in Season 2? No. I don't think Dracula's going to appear in Season 2. You might see him in the shadows, but the real antagonists seem to be Madame Kali, or Evil in Pool, and two others. We've been told that there are witches, Lucifer's servants, and they are the primary antagonist. And also, once you pull the Dracula card, you can't go back. And all evidence point to Dracula and the devil being the same thing. And as soon as you pull that card, what are you going to do after that? They're taking care to present Dracula as a proper villain, to present him as the big bad as he should be. Dracula's a foul, mean, evil, nasty character as presented in Stoker's novel, and John Logan knows this. The earliest I think that we'll actually see Dracula's face is Season 3. My largest concern is they get an actor to stand up with Ava Green, Josh Hartnett, Timothy Dalton, Rory Kinnear, and the rest. But Penny Dreadful has an excellent track record, and I think they'll do that. When we finally see Dracula, it's going to be an interesting show. I can't wait till Season 2, and folks, if we haven't convinced you to watch Penny Dreadful, you must not have a pulse. Get that? No pulse? Dracula? All right, we're back at the Dracula podcast. We hope you enjoyed Casting Dread, the Penny Dreadful Show, our subcast. We've cracked the 8 episodes, and you're now ready for Season 2, which premieres on May 3rd, 10 p.m., 2 days before Cinco de Mayo, on Showtime. And now we're getting into the media review portion of our show, or as Professor Van Helsing calls it,
The ghastly paraphernalia of our beneficial trade.
Boom. Mic dropped. John Johnson's back, ladies and gentlemen. He and I are continuing to delve into the Hammer Horror Dracula series. We'd cover them all, stopping at Dracula AD 1972, but there are 2 more films left to go. Will they hold up? Let's get into that conversation right now. Well, unfortunately, folks, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we still got a positive average, 4 out of 7, but that might change with the next one. Same director, Alan Gibson. Same writer, Don Houghton. 1973's The Satanic Rites of Dracula. This is actually a public domain movie. So, John, tell us about the story of the satanic rites of Dracula.
Well, it's this this entity trying to create this massive organization through black magic and so on and so forth. There's an epic confrontation in an office where Peter Cushing is called in, Van Helsing in all of his glory, and is basically dressed down by this character who never wants the light to be put on him. Well, of course, we find out who that is when the light is switched a little bit by Cushing, and yeah. So it's again, it's one of those films where they're trying to push the censors in a few places, I do believe, but it's not Stoker, it's not Dracula. I just can't.
There are motorcycles in this movie for some reason.
Yes, there are.
That are never explained. Christopher Lee is there.
Oh, the hawthorn bush.
Yes, the hawthorn bush. Christopher Lee is there. The hawthorn bush. Christopher Lee is technically playing Dracula, and Peter Cushing is technically playing a kind of Van Helsing. However, this movie is garbage.
Well, don't forget that Dracula now has the plague, and he's going to spread the plague.
This film is garbage.
And they finally got the apocalypse line in.
And even as the apocalypse thing comes up, even on this grand scale as this, what gets me about this movie, it's boring.
It is.
It's slow. I don't understand where they're going with the beats. It doesn't make sense. And not only do I give this a thumbs down, but I give it 2 thumbs down. It's a public domain movie. It's trash, unfortunately for Lee and Cushing.
They didn't like it either, according to what I've read.
Well, it's just too much.
Yeah.
Well, folks, now they're batting 500. So now we get into 1974's The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. They bring back Roy Ward Baker, who did Scars of Dracula, but unfortunately they still have John Houghton. Set this up for us, John.
Oh, boy. A visitor from the Far East comes to Transylvania, seeking all power and wisdom. Where does he go? Castle Dracula. This time, it's not Christopher Lee. In fact, I can't remember the name of the actor. He's so unmemorable. He looks similar to Lee. He's clearly American, and the voice is not there. But what can I say? It's a kung fu flick with Peter Cushing thrown in as Van Helsing.
70 minutes ago, I could have told you the man who played Dracula, but I can't do it now.
Well, in my opinion, it's probably best that he not be named, just for his own.
I like the art direction in this movie. I like the way it feels. I like the open landscape of it a bit. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes me think of possibly what Jonathan Harker went through a little in the book, and just the landscape of
yes, I think the overall picture I'm with you on.
I think the cinematography is solid, but that's where it stops.
Yeah, and Peter Cushing is doing his best with what he has, but even he doesn't have all that much to do. It's basically a kung fu flick. He has some people traveling with him that are his bodyguards in the area against the 7 golden vampires, and most of the action is done by them and the vampires.
And this isn't Return of the Dragon.
No.
This isn't Bruce Lee.
No.
These guys, I'm not sure what their day jobs were, but I'm sure the words 7-Eleven and Walmart possibly could have been involved. So, folks, we've gone through the Hammer franchise, and it starts off strong, but often, as it so does, it goes downhill. And also with The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, I give it a thumbs down. What do you think of the franchise in general? We started at the beginning, and we've gone to the end. What is it?
Well, I think with any franchise, the farther on they try to push it, the less impressive it becomes. It's a very important franchise to any fan of Dracula. It's a very important franchise to any fan of the 2 lead actors throughout the series. Overall, it's good. It's good entertainment. It's great for a Saturday afternoon to sit down and watch one of the movies or what have you. But as far as it being important, such as the book Dracula by Bram Stoker is, don't expect to find anything there in the series.
My recommendation on consuming this thing is to start with Horror of Dracula and stop at Scars. You'll have a couple of down points at Dracula Has Risen from the Grave and Taste the Blood of Dracula, but they're not necessarily bad movies. They're just problematic in the direction. Because, I mean, and plus when you go from Terrence Fisher to Freddie Francis, and unfortunately for Mr. Francis, I don't know what else he's done. But when you drop on that and when you switch screenwriters, things start to happen. But as for the last three, don't even worry about it.
Well,
if you see them, you might be interested in watching them possibly if you're bored and don't have anything else to do and you don't have to pay for them. But I would recommend Horror of Dracula through Scars.
I absolutely agree. But at the same time, looking at the context of what was going on with Hammer Films at the time of the last three, they were doing everything they possibly could in line with the horror genre. They were making movies like The Horror Express, The Vampire Lovers, Twins of Evil.
Now, I liked some of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
I liked those. Because
Some
they
of
had
those are very
solid
good.
stories.
Well, I did like Twins of Evil because of that.
I did too.
Christoph Waltz.
Christopher Lee was, Peter Cushing
was rough
Yeah.
in that one. He was. He certainly was. And they had a wonderful version of Jekyll and Hyde, I, Monster. Have you seen it?
I have not, but I'm going to.
Wonderful, wonderful film. Of course, it's the whole story, and it's probably the most faithful to Robert Louis Stevenson's work. However, they took the name Jekyll out and Hyde. They changed those two names. Wonderful, wonderful movie. There were some good movies being done by Hammer at this time. Unfortunately, in doing the good movies in other areas, they took away from the Dracula series, which is unfortunate.
They didn't dance with the girl that brought them there.
Exactly. And they were doing the same with Cushing over on the Frankenstein set as well.
So, folks, you've gone through our journey of the Hammer film series. John Johnson, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to sit and reopen this capsule in film history.
It's great to be here. It really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was John Johnson, my dear friend, Dracula historian and aficionado. Once again, he is playing Abraham Van Helsing in Dracula the audio drama, and his performance is nothing less than transcendent. We've gone through all of the Hammer horror films. Started off strong, a little bump in the middle, one more good one, and then it goes down from there. Again, our recommendation is to start at Horror of Dracula and stop at Scars. You don't need to watch the rest. Folks, that's all I have for today. Don't forget that Penny Dreadful starts on May 3rd, 10 p.m. Showtime. Thank you to my producer Adam Stover, Rob, and Martha of Southgate Media, and most of all, you for listening. We won't have another podcast until a couple days after the season premiere, so sit tight and stay tuned. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, to you and yours, have an excellent day.